Senator Sollman, kick us off here.
Thank you, Chair Marsh, Vice Chair Levy, and members of the committee. For the record, I'm Janine Sollman, and I am the state senator for Senate District 15, which includes areas of Forest Grove, Cornelius, Hillsborough, and the Rock Creek area of Washington County. So I come before you today in support of Senate Bill 545A, a bill that directs the Oregon Health Authority to adopt rules and sanitary direction to allow businesses and restaurants to establish safe systems for refilling consumer-owned and business-owned containers with food. Now, I've heard from numerous constituents who want the opportunity to reduce their consumption of single-use plastics by taking their own containers to retail grocery stores and restaurants rather than having to grab another plastic tub or bag every time they go to bulk food, or getting another single-use take-home container. So similarly, I've heard from businesses frustrated by codes that currently restrict their ability to safely establish a reuse and refill system for their own customers. Last summer, I held a listening session that was attended by over 42 businesses, and we found that, and they were asking for this rulemaking. Reuse systems have proven not only to cut down on plastic pollution and waste, but it can significantly save businesses money. Get this, $24 billion is spent by restaurants and food service businesses on disposables each and every year in the United States. The Oregon Department of Ag recently completed their rulemaking for allowable containers and safety rules for grocery stores. However, the Oregon Health Authority that oversees the rules for restaurants was just a bit behind the Oregon Department of Ag in their process, and this bill actually will ensure that rulemaking is complete by June 30th, 2024. Since OHA's rule was updated, restaurants will have the options, once the OHA has updated their rules, restaurants will have the option to allow customers to bring their own containers for filling their leftovers when they leave. They may choose not to do that, but some restaurants currently contract with outside vendors to provide reusable, returnable to-go container service. Now, this policy will allow them to bring this service in-house and potentially save that restaurant some money. So this is very worth, it's important to repeat this, that this policy is completely permissive to restaurants. It is up to the restaurant, but the rules and the safety guidance will be solidly put in place should they choose to do this. This bill will also not be overly prescriptive. It will allow OHA to go through their regular rulemaking as they choose, with the end goal being to allow refillable containers in restaurants. This bill is an important tool in our efforts to reduce single-use plastics, a concept that I am particularly passionate about. The bill left the Senate with a bipartisan 19-8 vote with 3 people excused, and I respectfully urge the support of Senate Bill 545A, a bill that will help keep more plastic out of our waste streams, out of our waterways, out of our environment, and ultimately out of our bodies from us consuming microplastics. And I thank you for this time.
Thank you, Senator. Questions? Oh, we've got questions. Hold on.
Thank you, Chair Marsh.
Yes.
So at face value, this bill seems really good because you're
spot on.
well, at face value, but then I think about the reality of how things are actually done in restaurants. Who's to say that a container maybe already contaminated is brought in by a customer? And you have two issues there. One, you have, for instance, let me back up. If they bring my food to my table, or somebody else's food by accident to the table, and actually, if the food hits the table, has to go to the garbage, can't go to another table, right? So in the event that a customer brings in a contaminated container, while that restaurant's putting food in it, who's to say that that utensil used to put the food in it didn't get contaminated? But further than that, what's the protection to the restaurant when you go back and say, well, this person got food poisoning? Well, how does the restaurant know that they didn't have a contaminated container to start with? So I don't understand who's going to put the guidelines on that. And then would a restaurant really want to be responsible to wash your dishes. Anyway.
Thank you, Chair Marsh and Representative Osborne. I will attempt to answer this question too, but I do have a lifeline if I do not get this correct. But first and foremost, I want to say that OHA will be determining the safety and the sanitary rules. So they will set that, and there will be rules in place that will say the types of containers and how those will be used. And probably a right of refusal, that if a restaurant wants to refuse that. But also saying that once the rules are in place, then the restaurants can then determine whether they want to participate in this. They may choose that they don't want to participate. They may choose that they may say, we'll participate in the leftover part of it. If you're at your table and you've eaten your food, scoop it into your plasticware or glassware and take it home with you. They may choose to participate that way. But it's completely permissible. And I think that this would be just like any of the other kind of rules that they have in place or the protections for liability, just like when you go to the restaurant and you use your cup and then you go sit at your table and then you go back up and you fill up your cup again. There's protections in place for them for liability protections for that. So I think that those same liability protections would be in place for them if the restaurant chooses to do this for that as well.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
And I want to make sure we get all of our witnesses to have an opportunity to speak. So you got a quick question?
Well, it's not a quick question, it's a comment, and forgive me, please, but shouldn't this be called the doggy bag bill or the to-go, no-no bill?
There's still an opportunity for us to rename.
There's
We